magician tries to invent something new. Go on. It's something that other magicians will scratch their heads over.
I suppose you have such a trick.
Actually, I do. It's the one they're gonna remember me for.
What happened?
It was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
How do?
This week, we're going to be discussing the science fiction, period piece, magic. It's The Prestige with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman and Michael Caine and Scarlett Johansson, Rebecca Hall. It's really, I mean, David Bowie is in this thing, for goodness sake.
The man who fell to earth and became Tesla.
Each week, he did. Each week we discuss guilty pleasures, forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist. And we have a very special guest. We have Ian from the Best Film Ever podcast. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Amped up to talk about the star-studded feature, Andy Serkis. You forgot him.
Oh, shit.
He doesn't have any friends. Yeah, it's The Prestige. I'm really excited. Thanks, Kev. Thanks, Aaron, for having me on. Appreciate that.
You also forgot Michael Caine.
I said Michael Caine, Sir
you?
Michael. Absolutely. Love
I might have tuned out too what you were saying.
That wouldn't be the first time. Sad to say. Aaron, what's the latest? What's going on with you?
Dude, I am obsessed. I need to have a Nespresso machine. I was in San Francisco for a conference and my hotel had the Nespresso. It was just the basic one with like a shot or a lungo espresso. And it was so delicious. So I've spent the whole week looking on Facebook Marketplace, looking on OfferUp and on eBay because it is very important in my life to have an espresso machine. It was more important that the president was staying at my hotel. I am obsessed with an espresso machine.
I have a horrifying tale to tell. I'm not a big coffee drinker in general.
Yeah, so
much
I've
less
heard.
an
Or
espresso.
a drinker in general. Or
I know it's it's
Diet.
the life of a monk.
Yes.
And
monk
we
who
were
drinks
going
soda.
to. I was taking my daughter to the Harry Styles concert a couple years ago.
That sounds
and
horrifying right there.
As we talked about beforehand, I start falling asleep. At about 8:00. It's sad and embarrassing.
You're our father.
I'm ashamed.
You have narcolepsy.
So on the way to the concert, we stopped at Starbucks and I got an espresso. I'm like, I just got to do this. I got to stay up because we're driving all the way to LA and all the way back after the concert. And I spent half the concert in the bathroom.
It went right through you?
Went right. It was, we don't usually talk about this sort of stuff, Ian, but it made me think
Well,
about
Kevin doesn't.
Aaron often. It was sad. I missed watermelon sugar. It was very upsetting to everybody. So
I think what's upsetting is Harry Styles songs. How about that?
I know that one.
Anything you'd like to share?
My Harry Styles discography isn't really. I could have named Watermelon Sugar at a push, but that would have been just about it. And that's. I mean, dare my accent betray me? I mean, I'm over here in the UK, and I don't know the Harry Styles One Direction discography. So there we go.
I mean, I have to say, I do like That's What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction. In my mind, it's kind of like an 80s throwback kind of song if you listen to it. That's what makes you beautiful. The rest of it I could give a damn about. Or the rest of
Although Kevin was deeply invested in boy bands of the 90s. Let's just put that out there so we all understand.
I mean, deeply invested? I don't know
Dude.
about deeply.
Dude.
I mean, there was some investment.
You can sing every B-side Backstreet Boy. Don't even lie to me.
Ian, we were on a podcast debating Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC. And I think we can all agree Backstreet Boys are far superior.
Backstreet Boys are the boy
back.
band.
All right.
NSYNC is a star-making project for Justin Timberlake.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Backstreet Boys is team first. Yeah, you got your star players, but it's still a team. NSYNC became Justin and Friends.
Oh, no question. I mean, look, we stipulate Timberlake obviously he's the one, right? He's the top of the mountaintop.
He's
No
the
question.
apex predator of that group.
No, exactly. 100%. Now, you gotta also understand, he was towing a few anchors there. He had a Joey Fatone he was dragging along with him. You know what I mean? There's no Fatone equivalent in the Backstreet Boys. That's all I'm saying. So, be that as it may.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron.
I can't even remember where I fell on that line. I think I was there were some NSYNC songs I liked maybe better versus
That's a possibility.
an entire, review.
Absolutely.
Oh, maybe I should put my phone on silent.
We're a very professional situation. Absolutely.
Hey, every podcast has got an Aaron, I've discovered.
So now we can discuss who we
call
like
ours Liam,
better.
So,
Aaron, do you want to give us your 30-second synopsis of The Prestige?
Couple of assholes are competing in some kind of London, I don't know, some terrible part of London for fame and riches, and they all get what they get. The end.
Pretty much. Now,
Magic.
now, Aaron, do you remember when you first saw this film?
I believe I was staying in Santa Cruz with my friend Julian Cian, and I'd had a couple of drinks, and Cian made me watch this.
That's very specific.
He's like, have you not seen The Prestige? Let's watch it.
Now, Ian, you suggested this movie for us. Do you remember when you first saw it?
Oh boy, do I. Are you listening closely? I saw it in the cinemas. As luck would have it, my sister recommended. She wanted to meet up and said, "Do you want to see a film?" And I thought, yep, that's better than actually having to do the bit where we talk to each other. So I thought, let's just stare at the same direction instead and classify that as a relationship. So
sounds reasonable.
I went and looked it up, and this in the old days when you couldn't just go to YouTube and type in Prestige trailer, and instead went to the website itself and looked at several trailers, which always look a lot better when they're surrounded by the promotional materials of the movie's website itself. I think since the move of trailers to YouTube, I don't think I've gone to a movie's proper website in a decade. I really don't.
Not since Blair Witch.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing driving us to these websites anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought it was good and went in with really low expectations. And, if you keep the expectations low, I mean, the odds of you coming out with a satisfactory movie-going experience are greatly enhanced. It's the same MO that we use for the podcast itself. If we can keep listeners' expectations low, they're probably going to be a little bit more happy with us coming out the other side.
Absolutely. I did not see this in the theater. I saw it a few years later. And what was interesting about this time is Hollywood, in all its infinite wisdom, released 2 magician movies about the same time. There was The Prestige, which no one knows the hell a Prestige is until you see the movie.
Right.
And then there was The Illusionist with Edward Norton. Okay?
Which I can't even remember.
I saw it once.
Something
and I
about
don't
an
remember
orange
how I
tree.
felt about it. Something like that, right? I think it was like a romance. There was like an
Jessica
evil...
Biel, Paul Giamatti.
Thank you.
Well, I
Paul
do enjoy
Giamatti, yes.
Paul Giamatti.
Yes.
The only reason why I know this so well is because Aaron's story reminds me of myself in that I think once you've watched The Prestige for the first time, you become almost evangelical in going, you have to see this movie. And the number of times I told people, you got to watch The Prestige, and then come back to work the next day and went, it was all right. And I'd go, hang on. Did your movie have Edward Norton in it? And they'd go, yeah. I'm like, you watched the wrong movie. Because the Prestige, I could imagine you coming back going, I hated it. I can imagine you coming back going, I loved it. I don't think you're coming back going, I really
You're
don't.
not ambivalent.
I think it's one of those movies that you're going, I didn't get it, or wow, but not this. I'm like, it's got to be Ed Norton. And yeah, the majority of people, it's happened more than once where they've seen The Illusionist instead, because it sounds more like a magician's movie, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Honestly, I don't think I saw it in the theater because it sounded kind of douchey. So I just let it slip by. It wasn't until my friends whose opinions matter because they have a similar taste to mine that I watch it. Otherwise, I would have never seen it.
Right. I mean, love it or hate it, it's extraordinarily beautiful to look at. And it is very layered. There's a lot of shit going on.
You got to pay
constantly.
freaking attention. Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, anybody who watches it, I'm like, you have to, because it's all on streaming now, you have to put that phone down. Because I think it's like there's a time jump every minute if you average it out. So I'm like, if you're not paying attention, you will lose track. Even trying, you will lose track of where you are. The first 40 minutes you're going, I don't even know if I really got what the primary timeline is. Which one am I following? I have no clue. So you got to sort of pay attention to this narrative that's kind of going linearly, but at like 4 different points in time. And they'll jump between them without really much help for the viewer as to what's occurring. So you've really, like, he's warming us up for Tenet with this one.
Oh God, you were absolutely right. You're absolutely, because this movie, like you said, it is literally 3 different timelines going on simultaneously, and it jumps back and forth. I'm over here now. I'm over there. Yeah, Tenet, which I think I enjoyed it, but I think it gave me a headache as well.
I think it's the best way to put that. I think it's what we came up with. I think, also, I think I got it.
Right.
Only kind of.
Absolutely. But I mean, like, literally every performance is dynamite. And there's that scene, I always think of that scene where Andy Serkis leads Hugh Jackman into that field and all the lights turn on and it's kind of like
fantastic,
dewy and it is, I mean, it's beautiful. It truly is. So just
this might be the birth of like the Nolan style. I mean, this is my first Nolan. I hadn't seen Memento. So my first one is The Prestige. I knew nothing about the guy. And if you want to kind of have like baby's first Nolan, I mean, you've got, you're going to have a narrative that we're going to chop and do all sorts of crazy stuff with.
Yes.
And we're also going to have these wonderful visual sort of moments that are going to be shot usually in glorious using IMAX cameras and the like. And you're going to get something visually impressive. The storyline's going to be all over the place. And it's going to be a little bit of a meta reflection on the art of storytelling itself. All those things are going to happen simultaneously here.
Absolutely. Did you
and
know
if you
this
don't
was
like
based
this, then you probably shouldn't watch any other Nolan that's going to come forward because it's the same things he keeps hitting.
Steer clear. Steer clear at that point. Did you know this was based upon a novel, a science fiction novel originally? I did not know that.
I did know it. I haven't read it, which is nuts because I'm such a I'd say evangelist. Fanboy sounds a little bit too convention-y, but I'm such an evangelist for this film that you would have thought I might have actually tracked down the source material and given it a read. But I do know it took them 5 years to sort of, once they began the screenplay, to get to the end point. Now, granted, it's because, Batman Begins and working and, doing the press coverage from Memento all pop up and things like that. But still, it was sort of like a 5-year process getting it from the source material to what we actually end up with on the screen.
Right. Why don't we jump right in to the highlights? So, Aaron, what do you got first?
I just want to preface what I'm going to say going forward with, I like this movie. I like it a lot.
Did you see The Illusionist? Is that what
I
you're
did
trying to tell
not
us?
see The Illusionist.
No, she said she liked
but
it.
I got a lot. I got a lot to say. But the first time I watched this, I was like, "Oh, Hugh Jackman's such an asshole." But the more I watch it, they're all assholes.
Absolutely.
100% assholes. How you let your twin brother treat your wife like crap while you sit there and watch it? F you all. F you all. How about that?
Yes.
You agree. Get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Well, okay, we have to talk. I mean, we're just kind of jumping. We're jumping into the deep end.
Reveal.
Reveal. So there's basically the trick that they're both attempting to do with various degrees of success called the transported man, where you walk through one door and pop out of a different door far away. Okay? Now, guys, you guys know we do spoilers aplenty on this. So if you have any interest in
I think it's
movie,
too late at this point. Yeah. I just revealed.
Yes, it's too late.
You might want to put that warning at the start,
yeah. But it's revealed that Christian Bale always had a twin brother, and that's how he was able to do the transported man trick, basically. But he basically has to live his life as one person. You know, even those closest to him do not realize that he has a twin. And what's crazy about that is I kept saying, how about have the twin that's in love with Rebecca Hall just be her husband? You know what I mean? The other one doesn't have to show up there half the time and be
and
a
have
dick.
sex with her and have children with her. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Who's the father? Right?
Yes.
Who's the father? We don't know. Anyway, so
they both do seem to care for the little girl. It's not like he's going, I don't care about my daughter. Yeah, and
I don't
do
care about
get themselves out of
but
it.
I do enjoy her child, so
Do get themselves out of it by making sure it's the bad brother who hangs at the end.
Yes,
It's the good one who loved his wife who lives at the end.
who lives?
Really rough ending if it went the other way around, wouldn't it?
That would be bad. That would be bad. Absolutely, because I think that's what they're saying. It's about kind of obsession. Right? He's fully obsessed to the point of like, because they talk about, it's kind of a reveal at the beginning when they meet the Chinese illusionist, where they basically say like, he's really not an old infirmed man. He has to live his life like that so that he's able to do these tricks and people are none the wiser.
Now,
but Christian Bale was already living that life.
Yeah.
He was.
He was
and that's
already
why Borden's
living
able
that
to
life.
spot it right then. He instantly goes, I know what this is because I'm living it. Now, we don't know that. But in a little side note, that sort of a Chinese magician is based on a real life magician who was just like white American, but he presented himself as a Chinese magician for like decades on stage. And it wasn't until he was shot on stage with a bullet catch that he said, my God, I've been shot. It was his first English he'd said on stage in 2 decades.
I mean, that's dedication. That's
dedication. And I love films that are about what is the cost of excellence. So you look at things like Whiplash, right? And Obsession.
Yes.
What does it mean? If you're gonna be the best, there's only one spot available to be the best, whether it's jazz drumming or being a magician, right? There's one guy who gets to be the best. And what is the price of that? And how far are you willing to go? Because you can live a normal life, that's fine, but you're never going to be that. So if you want to be that, or heck, if you want to watch Apple TV and watch Tom Brady go for 7 Super Bowls, what is the price of excellence? You know what I'm saying? And how far are you willing to push yourself? Because that's not a normal life then. So I love
it's not a normal life.
Narratives.
And once you achieve it, then what? You're happy now? No, because now you've got to maintain it.
Now you're obsessed someone's going to take it away from you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it went from Hugh Jackman being upset that his wife got killed to, I don't give a shit about my wife.
He says that.
He says that.
I don't care
He's
about
like,
my wife.
It's not about that at all.
Right.
My other problem with this, you got the twins, and they're already so committed to this lifestyle that they're living half lives, but not smart enough to figure out that their show's kind of boring and not theatrical. They couldn't figure that out.
Well,
Scarlett Johansson had to tell them.
See, I'm with you, Kev. I get this. It's the idea that they have all the talent in the world. They're the better magicians. But it's the difference between, do you want to be a great actor? Do you want to be a great movie star? You know what I mean? The great actors who put out the great films that no one comes to watch versus the guys who put out pizza. And so it's got no real sort of artistic integrity, but you're packing out houses. Now, take that and go, you still want to provide for your family, and you want the world to think you are the best. That's the hard part. He is the best. All the insiders would go, he is the best, but the average guy on the street doesn't know it.
Right. He's the magician's magician. Basically what it is.
Yeah.
Right? And Hugh Jackman, as we all know, is the greatest showman. So, absolutely. So, I guess what it comes down to, because remember, Hugh Jackman sends Scarlett Johansson over there ostensibly to spy on him, but she delivers the showmanship. So at that point, now suddenly he's got weird, crazy goatee and he's wearing a top hat and, sneaks backstage. How does he keep sneaking backstage of Hugh Jackman's show constantly?
They all do it. Like nobody notices.
I would imagine there's so many plans that it's just the idea of going, you can't keep track of which ones are and which ones aren't. Now, why Michael
That-
Caine's not catching him, I don't know.
Right.
That's true. That's
And
a
quite
good
frankly,
question.
Michael Caine is not innocent in all this. He
Michael
comes to
Caine?
his senses at the end, but he
Michael Caine-
facilitates this insanity.
Within 2 scenes, he goes from I'm going to nail a live man shot in basically
Yes.
what's a coffin
Yes.
to lecturing Angier going, obsession's a young man's game. I'm like, you just helped
Yeah.
kidnap and bury someone alive. Your hands are not clean in all of this.
Right. No, he definitely kind of flips allegiances as the plot requires.
Yeah, exactly. Not in a
He's-
normal way. It was
Is
like,
he-
okay, now we need him to go help the other guys.
Is he our barometer of morality? Is he the guy who goes, when he turns on Angier, then we go, okay, now you really have gone too far?
I mean,
It
that's
seems
what they're
like it.
trying to say.
Because like it's weird. The first time I watch it, and I always ask people this, I'm 100% with Hugh Jackman. I don't know what it is.
Right.
The thing that gets me is the I don't know which knot I tied. Going, well, there's 2 of you. You can ask. I don't know which one of you it was who tied it, but the one who tied it knows. So go
Right.
ask the other one, or at the very least, talk to each other and have an answer, because someone's going to ask you that question.
That was a bullshit response because they know exactly who was there that day.
Yeah. So
Well, and we know. The audience knows what knot they used. That he used the bad one. Right?
Well,
see him
do you know
switch
what the
it.
bad one looks like?
Well,
We
he
assume.
starts to do one knot, and then the girl kind of nods to
he looks
him.
at him. Yeah.
Piper Parabo. So then he stops and starts doing something different. So
Yeah. My reading's the same as yours.
So that's a bullshit response. We didn't have somebody died, but I didn't have a conversation
even
with
if
my
you
brother
have,
at
you know,
all.
Alfred number 2, not Alfred number 1, the one who doesn't do the knot. If he's the one at the funeral, are you telling me the topic of, hey, by the way, did you switch knots? That never came up, nor did you think to ask?
Yeah.
Right.
How about that Hugh Jackman wife dying? Strange, huh? What the hell?
I mean, would he come out and be like, yeah, I did. My bad. I mean,
My
is there
bad.
yeah, I kind of blew it on that. Sorry, bro.
I'm
Sorry,
showing
bro.
up to the funeral, interrupting.
Better
us
luck
going,
next
I'm
time."
sorry for your loss. It's like, this feels more like an after ceremony thing.
as they're pushing the coffin into the crypt, it's like, hey, time out. Let me just throw a few words in here, guys, if I may. Pulling the microphone out of somebody's hand. Now, here's what I kept wondering. So that was what we're talking about is Hugh Jackman's wife is doing the kind of Harry Houdini, I'm tied up in in a vault of water, and can I get out, before I drown, essentially.
Right.
When shit goes down and she's unable to release herself, clearly was that axe not tested? You know what I mean? It's like, why have the axe if we can't get through there anyway? So, just a question.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, she's the one escaping. And
Yes.
she's getting basically just billed as like the sideshow card holder girl at the
You're
at the
right.
wrestling match. She's the one with the skill
Oh,
there.
she's doing everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
As the audience, I guess, I don't know, because I really do buy into Hugh Jackman good, Christian Bale bad for most of the movie. But I think the Piper Parabo thing where she nods, and we get to see that. Whether anybody else sees it, we get to see it. Where she and that version of Bale have made that agreement together, and she's got agency in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the more interesting movie is if Hugh Jackman is the hero who then falls and goes too far. And then you find out the guy who you thought you hated at the end you're rooting for at the end. I think that's a more interesting movie.
I mean, that's really what it is. They want you to think that he's the good guy who gets turned by his obsession. They want you to think
He's the audience surrogate. He's we never know Christian Bale. Even at the
Right.
beginning, they say he's got a mysterious past and we don't know anything about him.
yeah, we're aligned to Jackman. We know what he
That's
knows
what
and
they
only
want
what he
you.
knows. Yeah.
right.
Except for
Now,
when
he
they all
has
start
a
reading each
secret,
other's
too.
journals.
Right. I appreciate the long con of writing that journal, by the way. I'm going to write this chapter,
What does he
twin.
do? He literally just steals his trick again. He goes, fine, you're going to leave me there reading a journal that says, I'm
Yes.
wasting my time. I'm going to write you one that says you're going to die from my murder and I'm alive. Stole your trick, did it better.
But I mean, and that's the thing. And you know, when Michael Caine does switch allegiances, it's because Angier is basically like, I am condemning you to death. Right? You're gonna die. Okay? And I could stop it, but I'm not going to. Just
Don't feel like it.
I'm a dick.
Don't feel like it. I'm a dick.
Because I'm a dick. Now I'm the dick.
I'm gonna orphan your child and, f off. The only way I can succeed is if you're dead. That's the only way I can be the best.
Right. Well, he admits at the very end, you were always the better magician.
Yeah.
You were always the better magician, which is true.
The bit where he just, after being so obsessed with his method, he takes it, rips it, and now it did feel a little inconsistent for everything I've seen him go through. That being said, it is quite a moment when he finally turns it over, like, what's he going to react to when he sees it? But that needs to happen so I don't find out I don't find out about the double bail.
Right.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this movie is each character really has an amazing story. You know what I mean? The fact that, Christian Bale's whole double life with the twin reveal was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then when it's revealed what's going on with Hugh Jackman's crazy trick, sweet Jesus. I mean,
it makes Hugh Jackman even more of a monster.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So in his desperation to recreate the trick, because Michael Caine tells him from the beginning, look, he's using a double. He's using a double. There's nothing else we can do. This is how I do it. This is how he's doing it. And Hugh Jackman's convinced it's some other explanation. And he said, Christian Bale sends him on a wild goose chase to Colorado to meet Nikola Tesla, who is doing... But
is it a wild goose chase? I mean,
it winds up
how
working.
very specific that it says Tesla, and Tesla's able to create something.
Yes. They
yell
what
I
mean?
Convenience.
I mean, what are the did they have some information? Did they have some information?
I'll tell you what, it's lucky his cipher wasn't Rhode Island, because then totally different movie, you know what I'm saying?
It is. Absolutely. So Nikola Tesla, however many months later, creates out of whole cloth this machine, which is supposed to be like a transporting machine of some sort. But he actually creates a duplicating machine. That's the reveal. It's a duplicating
Xerox. It's Xerox.
100%. 100%. And and this is what I was thinking this time, which had never occurred to me before. The first time Hugh Jackman duplicates himself, why doesn't he just say, I don't need this machine anymore?
His first thought is murder.
No,
boom!
Because if you just, you don't need all the blind guys. You don't need to worry about all the...
Yes.
I guess you do got to convince one of you guys to, like, fall for his murder. If this is still the plan, you still got to decide which one of you guys are going to deal with that.
Yes.
But you can easily just have him waiting on the other side and then you're doing exactly what Bale's doing. Just make sure one of you are always in this other caricature and lays low.
It would never work because he's an asshole. So that means his twin is an asshole. And neither one of them listened to anyone. So he already knew.
Look, they dealt with
everything he wanted to do with Root. When Root, the body double, the actor, and he's like, well, maybe we could switch sides. You see, Bale's character gets to do that very thing, so they each get to share, but neither one of them are as obsessed with, and it's back to kind of the duality of these two magicians. Neither of the Bales seem to care about the applause. The Bales care about being the best, whereas for Angier, it's always about, when he underneath the stage, when he lifts his hands out. But then when he gets his dirty wish and he has been transported across the entire theater, and it's a majestic shot, and he sort of stands up there on the balcony's what do you call it, armrest or whatever, banister, with his arms stretched. It's such a glory shot, and he gets all the adulation, but it's been so perverted. I think that's the difference between the two men, and why, I guess, Kev's right in the sense that he would want it, I guess, all the time.
Right. He's not going to share it.
My other question is this just a 15-minute show at the end?
Well, he still does like card tricks and shit. Right.
Not at the end.
No, at the end.
He loses all his
They transported, everybody get out.
Like, he's such a performer in that bit where he and Scarlett Johansson have hit their stride, and he's giving her the rose and all that stuff, and they're playing. At the end, he's just seriously going, I knew a woman who died doing this once. Should we get started? And then it's just, there's no humor. Now he's like,
No,
in
he's
my
dead
travels. I'm just like, what? But it's
Well,
the idea of exclusivity, right? I mean, if you only make 150,000 iPhones for the next generation, then the appeal becomes, there's not many of them, 100 performances, and exclusivity drives demand. And so what? He only does 3 tricks. He only does 3 tricks. That can be part
or
of
one trick.
Yeah, that can be part of the sales pitch.
And I think it's 100 because I think they calculated the number of bodies they can hide in that theater.
Jesus Christ.
And
My
then what?
question
You're going to
is,
burn it down?
how do
Because
they
he's
know
not driven
which
by
one-
money.
How do they know which one Borden's going to show up for? Because that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one where you have to stop the performance. Or do you just keep doing it until you hear Borden shouting out one day?
You're right. You're
'Cause
right.
You just have to
because
show up until the end of the performance. So it really could be any of the 100.
Yeah.
So what happens is when Hugh Jackman does a transported man, Nikola Tesla zaps him and makes a duplicate across the theater or something, right? The original drops down through a trap door into a water vault, the same one that his wife drowned in, and then just drowns. So he's
It's
gonna
locked inside until it drowns.
until it drowns. And the plan was only to have 100 shows. I'm gonna do 100 shows and that's it. So
I'm going to die 100
corpses.
times. Yeah.
Right. And I remember watching this thinking at the time that maybe there's some ambiguity, right? Maybe you are transported and your double is left behind, but I don't think there's any ambiguity. What do you guys think?
Ambiguity in what?
Like, if he is actually transported or if he stays where he's at and drops in the thing
Well,
and drowns.
my reading is that every man who goes into the magic trick, his experience is that he has been the lucky one 45 times in a row. But
Right.
aware that this could be the time that he drops down, because everyone who drops down will because it's a trap. Oh, yeah, because he's transported. So from their experience, I guess they carry all the memories and all of the personality and all that
Yes.
stuff along with them. But his experience is he's gone in there and 45 times in a row he's been transported. He doesn't, because he hasn't had the experience. Because the guy who drops ain't there to tell his story at the end of it.
Right.
But you still have to have that fear every time of, what if this time my consciousness is the one that drops down?
I just assume whatever it is stays constant. So either
You're always dropping.
you're always dying or always somebody else is dying. It's like Star Trek. Is it a copy of you or is it you?
Well, it's like all those science fiction movies. Like, did you ever see that Schwarzenegger movie, The Sixth Day? It's all about cloning. The reality is, when you have a clone, it's not you. You know what I mean? If you die and they clone you, you're still dead. It's
This
just
is a
now there's a
different
new
clone.
person
Right.
roaming around
This
with your
is a
memories.
different kind of clone. This isn't like Dolly the sheep. This is you have all your knowledge and all your information.
This
You're
would
not
be a
going to
lot-
think, "Oh shit, I'm the clone."
This would be a
Right.
lot easier, or sorry, this would be a lot more. This would be a lot more ambiguous, I think, if the hat disappeared and 2 hats appear at 2 different locations. Then you argue which one's the authentic one and which one's the clone.
Right.
No,
But
they
in this
want it.
case,
They
because
want it
the
to
one
be.
drops,
Yeah.
it has object permanence. The hat that the Tesla fires, it never leaves.
Right.
So as a result, that's always the original. So I guess the one that jumps must always be the clone, must always be the copy.
That's
But the
what I
copy
think.
isn't. Oh, the copy will still. I imagine the copy's thinking too hard about it because you want to be able to sleep at night. Because that way, I guess every copy is the one that dies on the next attempt.
Yes.
Because we're making the copy of the copy of the copy because of object permanence.
Absolutely. Yes.
So Hugh Jackman's a sociopath, and these things do not trouble him so much. It's still worth it.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Either he's like totally cool with murdering essentially 100 of his clones, or he's willing to risk his literally
I'm willing to commit suicide every night.
Every
and
night.
drown.
to do this trick. That's obsession.
Whereas if he'd just done the first idea and gone, hey, why don't the two of us figure this out and just, as Michael Caine might say, you use a bloody double, and you're both
Use a bloody
invested in it,
double.
and you're both invested in it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Keaton dealt with these issues in Duplicity. So if you really want to know, you guys never saw that movie? This is a deep pull.
No.
Where he's clones. Harold Ramis directed it. Anyway, that's a deep cut. Good times.
I love the movie. The movie poster's like 25 Michael Keatons
Yes.
and one Andy McDowell, who cannot act.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, never could.
Did I call it Duplicity? It's Multiplicity.
Multiplicity.
Duplicity is a movie about bad relationships with Clive Owen, I think.
Ah.
Don't see that. That's a different movie.
I see the poster. I knew what you were going for with that.
It's good when I fumble the joke and no one gets it anyway. Good
Yeah.
times.
You know, the two main characters are never friends. They work together with that other magician, but you can tell they were always in competition. It wasn't
Right.
like they were close friends and then the wife died. I mean, because together, if they had worked together, they could have been amazing.
They also try to imply some sort of class difference that Angier came from significant money, it looks like.
Yes.
Whereas
and
Borden is American, ironically. And yet and then Bale's character, Borden, he's London born and bred, and he's he's quite poor by comparison. So
Yes.
it's
they even
these two are
mentioned
gonna have a lot
getting
of
out of
common
this. They have to succeed.
yeah.
Well, and there's even a line that Hugh Jackman has where he's just like, well, because his wife at the time tells him, it's like, well, you kind of are playing a role, aren't you? And he's like, well, I'm using a different name because I promised my family I wouldn't embarrass them, blah, blah. So he kind of lets you know that even he's not who he's claiming to be at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So did he have like a British accent, Hugh Jackman now, at the end of the movie when he's Lord Codlow? I don't remember. Because he's American the entire movie. I don't know. See?
I
This
think
is a
he's got
question.
something when he's Lord Cordlow.
I thought he had an accent the whole time.
No, he was
Maybe-
American the whole time.
Was it? I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. Which I wrote that down. It was like an interesting choice.
Yeah.
I would like to just put out there that I hate Hugh Jackman, except in Wolverine.
Why do you hate Hugh Jackman?
I don't know. It's irrational.
I'm
But I
trying to
don't
think of
like
something
him.
else
I
I've
find
seen him
him
besides
irritating.
this and X-Men that I actually do like him in.
See?
I wasn't the biggest fan of The Greatest Showman.
No.
No.
And
wasn't
I didn't
either.
like
I wasn't
him
either.
as Jean Valjean and Les Mis.
He
I
can
was like,
sing and
"Oh,
dance.
I don't give a shit.
I liked him in Swordfish.
I've never seen
I don't
Swordfish.
even know what that is. You're just making words up
That's,
now.
no, that's John Travolta, Halle Berry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, it's popcorn movie.
I mean, is he the best actor out of that bunch, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. That's it. I'm like literally.
hang
sitting here
on.
thinking about it.
Prisoners. The guy's in Prisoners. The guy's great in Prisoners.
With Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal and
Yeah.
what's his name from Little Miss Sunshine? The guy who doesn't talk. Paul Dano.
Paul Dano.
Oh, it's such a
Haven't
good
seen
film.
it.
Oh, Prisoners is such. It's a Denis Villeneuve film.
Yeah.
His daughter gets kidnapped and he's trying to figure out who's got them. And it's like, what limits will you go to and where is your check when it's something you care so much about? Oh, it's good.
I just tell you, his Wolverine is amazing, and I don't like superhero movies.
I mean, I'm sitting here going like, what else did he do? Was it literally just Kate and Leopold and shit like that for
Yeah.
15 years?
Yeah, I mean, his career his background is in musical theater. So
Yes.
Yeah.
he did a lot of that stuff first.
So interesting.
He did the
I guess
one
I
with the
took for
kids
granted.
and the robots. And you train
Oh,
these robots
Real
to
Steel.
fight.
Real Steel.
It's like remote control Transformers. Yeah?
Robot Jocks.
Yeah, robot.
Robot Jocks. I wish he was a
It's
robot.
like the
Jocks.
shows that come on after the cartoons, and it's like
Yes.
just these nerdy guys
100%.
fighting there. Hang on. Was he? Yeah, he was in the Eddie the Eagle biopic. I don't know if it got any love over there.
Yes.
Oh, what was that called? But no, he was great in it.
What,
Yeah.
Eddie the Eagle?
Eddie the
Eddie
Eagle.
the Eagle,
right?
the British ski jumper.
Skier. Yeah.
He
Oh.
was in that.
Is
film.
he Eddie?
No, he's not Eddie. Taron Egerton, who played Elton John in Rocket Man. He's Eddie.
Oh my God, Rocket Man is
Kingsman.
one of my favorite movies.
Like
I
Hugh
love that
Jackman's his
movie so
coach.
much.
Oh, it's great.
Sweet Jesus. You know what? I didn't like The Greatest Showman, but generally speaking, I watch Hugh Jackman's performances and I approve. Generally speaking, I'm not like, well,
he's not bringing me to the theater.
This is funny.
Christian
actually,
Bale
because
is bringing me to the theater. I see Hugh Jackman. It's not an automatic.
It's interesting because I think art's imitating life here. Hugh Jackman is the big movie star at this time. So he's the showman. He's not the artist. He is the showman, though. He's the guy. He's the pretty man with the winning smile who will get butts and seats, all that stuff. He's Wolverine, right? And then in Christian Bale, you've got a legit actor, but a legit actor who might not be box office. And so now we put the two of them in. What do we add? Let's add Scarlett Johansson, who I know you said everybody was really good in this, Kev. I don't think she's very good in this at all, but she's a pretty girl who we put on the poster to make it look a little bit sexy, to get a little bit more. You know,
this was not her finest
razzle
role.
dazzle onto it. I think this is so art imitates life.
Hey, Londoner person, Christian Bale's
all
accent.
Is London, isn't it?
I actually have no idea. Where are you?
Oh, this looks like American stereotypes for 200 hours.
It's only beginning. It's only beginning.
About an hour and a half away from London on the train. So yeah, compared to America, yeah, it probably feels like London's right on my doorstep.
That's just one end of LA to another.
Yeah.
I found Christian Bale's accent irritating. Thoughts?
I'm trying to think. Is Bale? Where's Bale from? Is he American?
No, I think he's
Welsh.
British, but he's
Welsh.
Oh, is he Welsh?
Yeah.
But he's putting on an accent.
Oh,
He's a good at his accents though. Truly, he puts time and effort into his accents. He's like Meryl Streep.
yeah. I'm okay with his accent. in
No,
this.
it sounded like Dick Van Dyke.
Oh,
Well,
shut
he is,
get out!
well, he is playing like commoner London turn of the century.
It's a jolly holiday with Mary.
He's not like a chimney sweep or anything like that. You know, he's not stepping in time.
He's stepping in time. That's what I'm
Transported man,
thinking.
step in time. Like, you know, you get some of those
Step
guys
in
popping
time,
in out of those chimneys. I mean, that was the original Transported Man. Was that scene?
I want to see that mashup.
Hell yes, I do. Shit. Now that you mention it, God damn it.
Fantastic.
Any other things you guys want to talk about in the plot of The Prestige?
I don't know if it's
For
plot.
me, we knew that Wolverine was bad the minute he sent Scarlett Johansson off. That's when he had no soul. He doesn't give a shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd argue she's much like Michael Caine. She's another character that says, "Here's how you should feel about the characters." Because when she turns on Hugh Jackman, we go, "Oh, Hugh's crossing the line," and then when she turns on Christian Bale, we go, "Oh, he's just as bad as the two of them deserve."
Yeah.
It. Yeah, it's kind of we're left with no redeeming characters here until it does a hard
And
right
she's
at the
really
end.
more the bellwether than Michael Caine because she sees it immediately.
Well, and you realize in the course of the movie that she's really the one who spills all the beans. She's the one who tells Christian Bale about Root, about the actor, and so clearly that means that she's like assisting him.
Yeah.
In that the scene where Hugh Jackman's doing his trick and then Christian Bale comes out the door and there's Root hanging. You know that was all facilitated because that's
By
all
her.
show.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all showmanship.
She has no allegiance to him once he sends her over.
Right. That was it. Boom.
That's what you get.
Something
don't
I
get
think
upset.
that's just brilliant about the plot of this is from minute one, they tell us what the twist is. He uses a
Yeah,
double.
that's the
From
beginning.
minute
Yeah.
one. And then Scarlett Johansson comes and says, "I've seen makeup. I don't know when, but it's clearly a double." And the whole time we've got Fallon is just hanging out and we don't
Yes.
consider it and they're not afraid to give us a close up. They're not afraid. And we never go, "Why doesn't Fallon speak?" We never worry about that. We're like, you know, and at the whole time we're like, Christian Bale is acting like two different guys. He's super sweet to his
Right.
wife, then he's a dick, and you're like, but we never go, "Oh yeah, he's Fallon."
Right.
We
No.
never consider it, and they give us so many clues all the way through. And that way, when it pulls off, it's just like they say. The minute you know, you go, "Oh, it's so simple."
Right.
But the
Mhm.
joy of it is you wouldn't sit someone down to watch it and go, "By the way, they're the same guy. Because in the movie's nowhere near the experience it is.
Right.
So watching
Well,
someone, it's why people become evangelical about showing people this movie.
Right.
Watching someone else watch it for the first time is the closest that you'll get to that original hit. Watching someone else's
Good
mind
call.
get blown, you have to do
Right.
it like third-handedly and just sit there and watch them. And that's brilliant. And it's a small taste of that joy, because once you know the trick, you can't forget it. And it loses, pardon the pun, a little bit of its magic.
But then the worst feeling is when they turn to you at the end and go, "It's all right."
Oh,
And you're like,
I've been lucky that no one's done that to me.
I thought Edward Norton was in this.
It's not as good as that Edward
You
Norton film. No.
you know, of course, I've seen it many times. So this time, I'm staring at Fallon, and it
Yeah.
really doesn't look like Christian Bale.
Right.
It's like I'm staring. I'm trying to analyze it. They do such a good job. I mean,
He never speaks.
Well, it
Nope.
never speaks.
He's
and there's no,
always
the
there.
face shape
preamble.
is different.
When
He's
they
just
find out that
suddenly
they're
there.
pregnant, they go, "We should have told Fallon." They've just met Fallon. Like, she's just met, like, why would we tell Fallon?
Yeah.
But like the hands being tipped all movie long, so much so that when Rebecca Hall has her big last scene, she says to him, "I know what you are." And she wasn't supposed to say that. She ad-libbed that and was afraid that
Right.
she like ruined the movie. I imagine they were like, "Let me show you the rest of the script. We've been saying it's a double the whole movie. Like, don't
Right.
worry yourself. You're just one more voice screaming that we've been taught by Angier to ignore. Because we're with him, so of course, no, it's not that
Right.
simple. I've seen it."
Well, and,
Yeah.
and frankly, the marriage is so heartbreaking. It is. I mean, she's constantly. He'll say, "I love you." He's like, "No, you don't love me today. I know some days you don't love me."
Oh,
And initially, she's like, "It makes the days when you do that much better." But then eventually,
it makes the
I mean,
days you don't
it's-
that much worse.
right,
Yeah.
They're home alone. Why couldn't it just be her husband?
right. That's what I kept wondering. Doesn't
Because in
have, you have to
some- in
send the
some weird
big brother
way,
in.
we watched that
Yeah.
scene with the Chinese magician, and he goes, "This is what it means to do." And so I think it's some weird tortured artist stuff where he's like, "You
Yes.
have to do this. This is what you have to do."
Right, right.
Yeah.
Good grief. Now,
Oof.
one thing I noticed at the very beginning of the movie is you hear Kristen Bale's voice. Like, I think it's like credits are barely rolling or whatever, and he says, "Pay attention to everything."
Are you
see."
watching closely?
Are you watching? That's what it was. Are you watching closely? It's like letting you know.
Yeah.
You
magic-
better be paying attention.
And the whole thing, the whole magic act is just a metaphor for the art of filmmaking. It's just act 1, act 2, act 3, right?
Right.
So it's Christopher Nolan getting very meta, which is why I love Nolan, because I'm a film teacher during the day, and I'm a little bit of a film nerd in general. And so, narrative structure, this is my jam. So, but you get that, and then you get, the whole bit with Michael Caine, who basically says, "Here's the film you're going to watch. We're going to have something, we're going to take it away, and we're going to give it back." And so much so that the opening shot is those hats. And we were like, "Why is there a bunch of top hats?" Don't worry about it for an hour and a half. We'll come back to it.
Right.
Mhm.
And then it's the scene, and the scene we actually see is the scene that's going to end the movie, where the kid gets reconciled with either her dad or her uncle. DNA test on Maury still to be determined, right? You are the father.
You are not the father.
But so we get that little, and we just think it's all nothing. And then the idea of birds and killing one and bringing one, like, the metaphor just works perfectly the whole way through. Even the bit where Fallon, who gets his one line of dialogue in the movie as Christian Bale, whatever his character's name was called again, Borden, is being taken away to go to the gallows, and he throws the ball at him, and he picks it up, and I think he says "poor boy," which is the same thing that he says to the bird that he throws in the bin at the start of the movie when he's killed one and puts
Right.
one away. So the dead brother. And if you look, he's got a
I had to
padded
stop
glove
it
with
3
2
times.
fingers there.
I couldn't figure out what he said.
It's so hiding in plain sight, which I love
Mhm.
this for, because that's what magic is. If as soon as you know, you see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's what they say. You don't want to see it though. It's like you want to be mystified.
That's why the magic's
You don't
in
want
sort
to
of
know
sitting there
the
going,
answer.
let me have this moment. I hate the
Yeah.
movies where someone ruined it for me early by giving away the twist. And so just let me live in, that's what, filmmaking as a form of magic. It takes you away to a place. And when those few moments where a twist is executed really, really well and it blows your brain up for a moment. Oh, those are tremendous.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Any last thoughts?
My only complaint is back at Tesla's, no one noticed 5 feet from the front door, 55,000 top hats and black cats running free.
You don't know that's where it was, Aaron.
They went for a walk and they took about 6 steps. And then there was 10,000 decomposing black cats.
Well, you did need 2 cats in order to make the fight to draw your attention to it. So it's somewhere slightly off. It's got one of my best lines in it. Exact science is not always an exact science. It's a nice line. And
then did Edison, when he burned everything down, also burn down the 1,000 black cats?
Good question. These are important questions.
These are important questions.
I don't know how much it costs to run that machine, but it seems like you've got yourself a nice little business project there. You could open a hat shop.
Put a gold bar in there.
There we go.
Boom.
It seems like that's an awful lot of electricity in these some crazy slum where it looks like everybody's still using gas lights.
That's a fair question. I didn't think about that.
That's they have a little nuclear reactor in the back too, or
yeah, you can't run that on coal, right? As far as we know. That's fair. I didn't think about that. Good grief. Why don't we go behind the scenes?
Excellent.
You guys ready?
Why not?
Let's see. You talked about this briefly. Chung Ling Soo was a stage character created by William Ellsworth Robinson, a white man who disguised himself as a Chinese man to cash in on audiences' enthusiasm for the exotic. So that character was based upon a real historical magician. So, we didn't even talk about this. What does prestige mean? In a trick, and there are all these terms for it. You show the thing, then you make it disappear, but that's not interesting, making the thing disappear. What's interesting is what they call the prestige, is when you bring the thing back. That's when the cheers occur and all that stuff. The word prestige originally meant a trick, and it's from the Latin prestidigium, meaning illusion.
Or prestidigitation.
There you go.
Magic.
Nikola Tesla was a world-renowned inventor, physicist, engineer, and for a while he conducted electrical experiments in his lab in Colorado Springs, where he's known for his eccentric behavior. So
alternating current versus Edison's direct current.
Mm-hmm. It was a big issue, that AC versus DC. People were very concerned about it.
On a side note,
please.
More people's thoughts on Bowie. I was really, I've always been underwhelmed at Bowie's performance in this movie.
It was not one of his better performances. It was very flat.
Like I didn't want him to have like this giant like 80s hairstyle and steal a baby or anything like that. But I did want him to try a bit more.
What baby?
It was not the hunger, I'll tell you that.
That is true. You know what though? I thought it kind of worked with the character. You know what I mean? He didn't have to be Gareth the Goblin King. You know what I mean?
Honestly, his assistant was more animated than him.
Apparently, Nolan phoned him up and said, only you could play this role. And then you watch it and you're like, really? Like, a lot of guys could have played this role. This is no more just to go, hey, look, we got David Bowie in our movie. That's why that exists.
100%. And no, David Bowie does not seem enthused at all. It may be his worst performance in a film.
Fair enough.
It's just boring. Yeah, that could have been Hobo Joe.
Did you see Ricky Jay, who plays a magician in the beginning of this movie? He's an actual magician and an actor. So there you go. He was.
Yeah, he's the one who's he's the lead guy when Piper Perabo dies.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And the disappearing cage trick was a real trick that was used by Harry Blackstone Sr. and his son Harry Blackstone Jr. So that was real. Although it seemed kind of like disgusting. You had to crank it in the back, and that was very elaborate. That was like,
that one's real, or the other one? I thought it was just when you crush the bird.
No, the where you do it in plain sight. That was a real trick, evidently.
Wow.
So, but it did seem a little
Interesting.
dangerous, to be honest. The fact
That
that
doesn't
it's
sound
like
right.
pneumatic switches and things. Yeah,
It
you
seems
lose
like
a
you got to
finger.
be out of a couple of distinct sight lines to avoid getting sliced up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the Saw movie or something.
It's the Saw of the 1800s.
It was based upon the events of The Prestige. Absolutely. Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we?
Mhm.
We talked about this was directed by Christopher Nolan. You know him for such things as Tenet, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk. The list goes on and on and on. I love Memento.
Oh,
by
come
the
on.
way.
We got to give some love to the film that might be winning all the Oscars in a week. Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. Absolutely. No
Didn't
question.
see it.
Good stuff. I mean, not as impressed with Interstellar, if I'm being honest.
I've never seen Interstellar, so spoilers on that for me because I definitely do want to see it.
Let's see. Cast. Christian Bale played Alfred Borden. You know him from such things as The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, American Psycho, The Fighter. The list goes on and on and on. All sorts of good stuff.
I love me some
I
Bale.
remember him in Newsies 100 years
In
ago.
Santa Fe, are you there? Do you swear? He hated every moment. No one told him it was going to be a musical as well, I believe. And you can see with every moment he's on screen how much he hates being there.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Well, he was in Empire of the Sun. As
He
a
was
child.
amazing in Empire of the Sun.
Yeah.
But speaking of musicals, he did sing all throughout American Psycho, so he must not be that opposed.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's different when it's Huey Lewis.
Hugh Jackman. You know him from such things as Les Miserables. He played Jean Valjean. He was in Logan. He was in X-Men. And for some reason, he was also in X-Men Origins Wolverine. If you haven't seen that, continue not seeing it. It's horrible.
I missed that one.
That's not a good one.
But the Super Bowl told me he might be coming back to hang out with his buddy Ryan Reynolds and do the Wolverine thing one more time. One day more, you might say.
One day more. Yeah, no question. I can't wait for that. I think it'll be great. Good
I think
stuff.
it's
They have kind of,
it's some sort of stat like the most viewed trailer of all time or something like that. Like it's just the hype has been through the roof.
well, they have kind of a bromance in real life.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. They're constantly talking to each other on social media and all sorts of good stuff. Let's see. Scarlett Johansson played Olivia Wenscombe, the what is she? The helper? What are they
The
called?
assistant. The
Assistant?
assistant.
The magician's
Assistant.
assistant. Thank you. You know her from Lost in Translation.
Which is the best film ever.
She was in Her.
That's her finest role at 19.
She
Her.
was in
we
the
just
Avengers.
reviewed her last week, actually. What a voice acting performance that was. I'm not usually
Now,
one who's
why
big on
did they-
voice acting. Fantastic.
Why did they replace Samantha Morton? Do you know the reason?
They replaced Samantha Morton. Whatever was supposed to happen just didn't click. Now, we did, in our review, we found out that Spike Jonze, the director, kept Morton and Joaquin Phoenix apart as a way to, I guess, try and, art imitates life, method, all that stuff. When actually, maybe the answer was to do the opposite and let them actually hang out a bit and get a little bit of chemistry, because it needs to feel like they're connecting. So apparently just whatever he was looking for story perspective, it didn't come out. Now, he didn't just bring her back for reshoots. He just instead he recast with Scarlett and redoes everything and calls Joaquin back for a bit. And their chemistry, despite obviously never appearing on screen together, is tremendous.
That's done. Well, it's kind of like what they did in Back to the Future, where they filmed half the movie with Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
And we're like, this ain't working. Bye-bye. And then they had to recast the girlfriend, too, because she would be too tall for Michael J. Fox. So,
It's a
Very-
different
Because tall
actress in
girls
movie
never
2 than
date
movie
short
1.
boys.
But it's a different
Correct.
actress in movie 2 because her mom gets sick. So they put
Correct.
Elizabeth Shue in instead. Yeah.
and a different Crispin Glover in 2 as well. A false Crispin
there was a
Glover.
giant lawsuit about that
I
one
love
because they
Crispin
basically used his
Glover.
likeness. And
They did!
try to trick you into going, he's upside down, but it's the same guy. And no, it's not.
Well, they put prosthetics on his
Oh my
face to
God.
make him look
Yeah.
like Crispin Glover. So bizarre. So bizarre. She was
OMC.
also in Under the Skin, by the way. And Michael Caine played Cutter, the ingénieur,
Yes.
which I guess just means engineer in French.
As a little turn of the century, they were called engineers, I'll have you know.
Ingenues.
Engineer.
Let's see, Michael
Ingenuities.
Caine. Ingenuities. He was in The Dark Knight, Youth, Cider House Rules, The Prestige. I could go
We're
on and
listing his
on.
filmography. How much time you got? Because we'll be here a while.
We'll be here all the live long day. He was in
The
Blame It on
Italian
Rio.
Job,
Blame It on Rio. I think I saw that on a plane once.
He was in The Hand.
Dirty Rotten
Absolutely.
Scoundrels.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
love Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
That's a classic.
I love Michael Caine. I follow him
Yeah.
on Twitter. He doesn't post
We're
much.
pro Michael Caine.
Michael Caine is he's a national treasure. He's retired now at the age of 90 something, but man, think about when he started acting, 70 years ago. What's that?
Absolutely.
That's 1954. Like, just think how much movies have changed in the 70 years he's been on screen.
Totally.
Tremendous.
Totally.
Tremendous.
No, I love him because he does like fine films and then he'll do The Swarm. You know what I mean? He's down for whatever. He's like, write me a check. I'm there. Jaws the Revenge. I'm there. Whatever
What
you
is this-
need.
What is this Kingsman film? Yeah, all right.
Sure.
Now
He's
you
like,
see
I
me. If the paycheck's there, you will.
He says, Jaws the Revenge, did not like the movie, but I like the beach house it bought.
Yes.
Yeah.
No shame in his game, and God bless him.
God bless him.
Rebecca Hall, who we haven't really talked about much in this.
Tremendously underrated in this film. Like, with all the
Yes.
big name stars, people sleep on her. She's tremendous here.
She's great. She
Yeah.
is arguably like the emotional center of this film.
She's
You
the
know
only
what I mean?
one with emotion.
There you go. You know her
Yeah.
from Vicky Cristina Barcelona. She was in The Town.
She's great in the town.
She was in The Prestige. She was in 2016's Christine, which I don't think has anything to do with Stephen King.
Oh,
Fine.
damn it. I was like, what?
If I had to guess. Let's see. David Bowie played Tesla. You know him from such things
As being David Bowie.
he was in
And The
Labyrinth. He was in The Man Who Fell to Earth in 1976. The Prestige, Zoolander.
I was a little bored with that, by the way.
Oh, that tough role in Zoolander where he plays himself. Yes.
it's hard. It's hard. And we've got, of course, Andy Serkis, who is actually an actor. For years, I thought he was just kind of a motion capture guy, but he's in stuff where he's doing no weird Golem stuff. So, although I'm going to list. Go ahead.
Did you see him in Black Panther? I mean, the guy is ripped. The guy is.
He is.
All you guys making fun of me for being Gollum. I'm going to use all that as fuel, as rage in the gym. He is. jacked.
He is. He is. Now, that being said, as being a physical actor, he's known for War of the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the
Tremendous.
Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Lord of
Breakfast
the
with Planet of the
Rings.
Apes.
You know what? Those movies are actually pretty good. And I thought the first one, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, was like borderline, like great.
No,
Frankly,
it's,
there was
it's
like
outstanding. Yeah, if it had gotten some Oscar buzz, I wouldn't have challenged it. It was
Yes.
tremendous.
real performances from like the actors that aren't not just the monkeys and the chimps
Yeah.
or whatever, but like
What's
the
that,
act, like,
Franco,
even
Lithgow?
Franco.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Let's talk about the rating, shall we? The Prestige currently has 77% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting.
Do you know what the audience gave it?
What?
Oh, it's gonna be
52%.
90 something, isn't it?
92.
Yeah.
92. Good stuff.
Got a C.
The word of
rating
mouth on this
by the
film was
professionals.
insane for years. I was part of a message board that talked all things, but The Prestige as a movie came up and it just never left the screen. People were talking about it for like 2-3 years straight. People were coming in and sharing the word of mouth. It's one of those that, because they
Yeah.
have a big splashy marketing budget. So it really
Right.
depended on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Roger Ebert says it's quite a movie. atmospheric, obsessive, almost satanic. 3 out of 4. Good stuff. And let's see. We've got Peter Travers from Rolling Stone. There are nifty tricks galore up the sumptuous sleeve of this offbeat and wildly entertaining thriller. 3.5 out of 4, Peter Travers. Not bad.
It sounds like he wrote that in the 1950s. Maybe he's a time traveler.
That's what I would expect from Peter Travers.
I was watching a thing where they said, these are not tricks, these are illusions. Tricks are things whores do for money and candy. So, write that down.
That's from Arrested Development.
It is!
That's Job. Oh, Dad, you don't have time for my illusions.
Rex Reed!
All right.
Our patron saint. The movie is more infuriating and contrived than suspenseful and clever. Thank you for that, Rex Reed. What is your rating? Let's start with you, Aaron.
I am actually going to give it, 4 out of 5. I like Christian Bale better than Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman, f*** off. How about that? 4 out of 5. How about that?
That's serious. Ian, what do you got?
It's a stone cold 5-star classic for me.
Boom!
I like films that I walk away and I have to carry them with me for a bit, whether it's positive or negative or whatever it is, but that I mull it over and the themes resonate, and that you can, not that it has to, but that you can come back and rewatch and get something different, because you only get one first watch, but does it hold up on second watch, on third watch? And the film does. I mean, outside of a little bit of, hey, Hugh Jackman, why don't you just, make a deal with yourself and not kill yourself in a water tank. Outside of bits like this, I mean, the film totally holds up, and you sit there, and every time I watch it, I find something else out where they were showing me what the twist was.
Yeah,
and it's a twist that when you rewatch it, the twist holds up. When you show it to someone else, you get that sort of enjoyment there. The acting's fantastic. The scope is fantastic. And I just love people who mess with narrative structure and play with audience expectations. And this does all those things. So for me, it's an absolute 5-star classic.
Absolutely.
And the end is still haunting.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all those damn corpses.
How is he going to get rid of all that? Even if you burn that, they're giant tanks of glass and water. I mean, there's still going to be evidence.
That's true. But how could they ever explain there are 100 identical corpses?
This is one of those movies you'd love to get, like, what would happen the day after.
Yes.
Yes. That'll be The Prestige Part 2, where they recast it with all lesser actors.
With lesser actors. And Scarlett Johansson.
And Scarlett Johansson. She's got time.
No, what was interesting is when Michael Caine is talking to the judge, and the judge like, if you just show me the trick privately, would that be acceptable? I'm like, how are they going to explain this trick? And he just says, it's real. It's all real. It's not a trick at all. So I guess that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
So, good grief.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 as well. I thought, really, I don't have a lot of complaints, but I find myself not watching it often. You know what I mean? I think once you get to like the 4.5 and the 5s, you're in my rotation. You know what I mean? Of kind of my guilty pleasures or my not so guilty pleasures.
Rosemary's Baby, The Shining.
Okay. I was thinking like Tango and Cash, but yes.
Tango and Cash!
Sweet Jesus. So I would definitely recommend, if you haven't seen it, I mean, is it still worth seeing since we've told you all the secrets?
It's worth it. It's still worth it, even if you know everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, they tell you everything at the beginning, so pretty much.
Well, and sometimes, when the trick is revealed or the twist or whatever is revealed, if you go back and watch like the steps they took, the steps don't always make sense in these other films. But in this one, the seeds are planted, like you said, throughout. It is consistent. There's no, bizarre twists that make no sense or only trying to trick the audience.
It's not like Ocean's 12 where you go, hang on a minute. Once you know, you're going, you actually go, hang on a moment. No. It doesn't do that.
Right.
There is an evil twin borrowed from every soap opera. So an evil twin always appears.
And just like in Ocean's 12, where Tess is for some reason an exact duplicate of Julia Roberts. No one.
But the rest of us don't exist in that movie universe.
That's
I don't
correct.
like George Clooney. You don't look like Brad Pitt. Just Tess looks like Julia Roberts.
Right. That was that. Oh God. I really, since we're going off on this jag for 5 hours, Ocean's 11, dynamite. Love Ocean's 11.
Love it.
Ocean's 12, I thought it was too self-referential. It was too much. Look how much fun we're having. High five. You know what I mean? It's like what you and your buddies would film over a drunken weekend, and then you show it to somebody else. They're like, thanks, but no thanks.
It's like when I was drunk and I watched Pool Boy and I thought that was like the funniest thing I ever saw. And then I recommended it to something and I watched it with him. I was like, oh shit.
Right.
Something was wrong with me.
But isn't the whole thing with Ocean's 12 that they like already had it from the start of the movie anyway? The thing they were trying to get, they'd already captured way before, and everything else was like a pantomime. And that could be a fun twist. The problem is, the danger is you tell the audience that thing you were invested in. Yeah, you didn't need to hear an idiot for investing in that. We'd already taken care of it like an hour ago.
Right.
And as a result, you go, no, you know what? Screw you, movie. Yeah, you had your moment, but I'm not coming back again. Oh, even this made me feel like I wasted my time. That is not an enjoyable effect for me. As opposed to Ocean's 11, where I went, oh, this is such a fun twist at the end. What a great sort of reveal. Oh, let's watch. Oh, it's brilliant. Let's watch that again. No, this was the opposite. So I never watched 13.
13 was better. Clearly, it wasn't as good as the. Now, I'm not talking about the first one like it was Oppenheimer or something. It was, it was fun. It's a fun film. The first one was a great cinema experience. Yes. It was a fun movie. Yeah, it was fun.
I never saw any of them.
Oh, the first one's really good. And I had low expectations. It came out going, that was great.
That's the secret. I think the first one is the movie where I really started to go, hey, I kind of like Brad Pitt. Where I didn't up to that point. I thought he was kind of not that great of an actor. And then he kind of discovered, how can I be just kind of charming on screen that people enjoy me?
Hey, hand me that piece of fruit. I'm going to always be eating something, I've decided.
Right. That's what it was. It was those choices.
I will say he did make an arc because I always hated Brad Pitt.
In the 90s.
In the 90s. Right. And then I'm starting to warm up to him. I always thought he looked like he smelled and he was a shitty actor. He was a Costner for a long time.
I like Clooney or Pitt, and that movie turned me on both of them, and it introduced me to Matt Damon. Oh, it's that movie's huge.
Well, it's like, you know what? If you're not the finest actor in the world, you can still learn to be kind of interesting to watch where you're just kind of playing yourself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's okay. If that's your thing, I can appreciate that. I can enjoy that. You know what I mean?
Channing Tatum, you go make those movies, buddy.
Absolutely. Love Channing Tatum.
But you don't want Channing Tatum to play Oppenheimer.
No.
Fair. Sweet Lord.
Keanu Reeves is Oppenheimer.
Well, then
I might sign up for that. I might roll in for that.
Well, that's
can't be worse than Dracula.
In the 90s, you had Keanu doing like Shakespeare.
Much ado about nothing. It was dreadful.
What are we thinking? What are we doing with our lives?
That was Kenneth Branagh on the downslide.
Oh, sweet Lord.
Nobody gave a shit anymore.
I have to cast who to get this movie made? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody's had enough of your bullshit. Right.
But the same thing
sucked.
As the 2000s approached, Keanu, I don't know what happened. Now he's more kind of, okay, I appreciate what you're doing now.
Yes, I agree.
Something happened.
He knows who he is.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
He knows who he is. I hated him for years, but Constantine, that's where I changed my mind.
I also think about this is obviously to a lesser extent, but like Vince Vaughn. When Vince Vaughn first appeared in Swingers, we loved Vince Vaughn. Yes. And then for 5 years, he's like, I'm going to show people I'm more than that. And people are like, we don't want that. Go back and be Vince Vaughn again.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway.
You're reaching too far, Vince. Get back to where you know. Go on.
That's what I'm saying. So, thank you very much. Go to our pages across social media. We're on X, I guess. Blue Sky, Threads. We're on TikTok, Instagram. You may be watching this on YouTube, for goodness sake. You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review.
See, that's where you're missing out. Because Best Film Ever is on all the ones you find the degenerates. Not just the fine.
4chan.
We're out there.
What
with,
else?
like, we have like the real questionable ones too. So like,
Parlay. What is
Absolutely.
it?
Chat roulette.
Chat roulette.
Aaron, where can people find your interesting musings?
No, I looked and I'm still on Artsy and First Dibs, Aaron Doherty. And then, I'm the cult of Aaron. Join the cult on the Insta. I'm Don't Feed the Pigeon on the Insta. And then I'm on the Twitter and the Threads and whatnot. I'm not on Blue Sky. I can barely maintain the media that I'm supposed to maintain.
I may be the one on Blue Sky. So
yeah,
drop in.
You and 4 of your friends.
That's right. Now, Ian, tell us about your show and where can we find it?
Hey, we're Best Film Ever. We're me and a cornucopia of my friends from various walks of life. Get around and see if we can decide in all our disparate ways on what exactly is the best film ever. We tend to drop new releases on a Tuesday. We usually have some bonus stuff throughout the week, but you can get a hold of us. Like I said, you can find us wherever degenerate podcasts are found. You can keep track of us on what used to be called, on the platform formerly known as Twitter, at Best Film Ever Pod. Technically, we do have an Instagram. It's hardly ever updated. I don't even know what Blue Sky is, but you can generally hit all of us. That's at Best Film Ever Pod. If you like what we do, why not check out the Patreon? Help keep the lights on. It's patreon.com/BFE. We kept it simple for you.
Absolutely. And we actually first met because you had like quiz nights that we would do, and that was hilarious and fun.
Yeah, I'd like to say that we still do those. It's a bit. We had a defending champion who then disappeared, so I kind of just dropped for a bit. We always got some sort of fun sort of side thing going on, whether it's ridiculous stuff like fantasy football or just getting together with a bunch of film podcasts and talking about the summer preview. I'm trying to get peeps around for an Oscar preview show, so always ideas coming at. Just take a look at the feed and you'll be surprised what's coming down the pipe next.
Absolutely. We'll put all your links in our show notes as well. What we like to do, absolutely. What we like to do is include questions and comments from our friends across the interweb, talking about the movie Chopping Mall. Our friends on TikTok, Dale Minis 456 says, love this movie. Okay, there's one. Good times. Nano says, reminded me of Deadly Friend, which I remember with Christy Swanson 100 years ago. You guys remember Deadly Friend?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Shane LaCaza says, if Kit from Knight Rider and R2-D2 had a child, that's what
with a bloodlust.
Absolutely with a bloodlust. So good times. Thank you.
I just want to share that is our most watched video on TikTok. It has over 18,000 views, and now TikTok is refusing to release it onto For Your Page because of the violence. I just went through and half of our best performing videos are now not for Your Page because we're being blocked.
Well, the sad thing about talking about horror and sci-fi is there's often violence involved. So
imagine
I apologize to all the children who are scarred
on our TikTok.
You shouldn't be on TikTok anyway, kids. That's my opinion. Anyway, except if you're watching our stuff, then it's okay. Next week, we're discussing the horror science fiction classic Species, starring Natasha Henstridge, Ben Kingsley. We've got Forrest Whitaker, Alfred Molina, Michael Madsen, Marg Helgenberger. It is literally an all-star cast. And I watched it recently, and I'm bowled over by the sheer amount of nudity. For the 90s, it is shocking. The 90s,
an 80s hangover.
70s into the 80s, look, boobs, we were going to see them. That's how it worked in that time
You
period.
couldn't make a film in the 80s without a naked woman somewhere.
You couldn't. I mean, they would make movies just for that purpose. But it's seemingly like by the 90s, we kind of started to chill a little bit. Like, okay, been there, done that. Not so much with Species. So check that out. you can watch it on Max with a subscription. So that'll be good. And send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and maybe we'll talk about it on the show.
So there's gonna be topless. There's gonna be topless women on an HBO channel. You're saying?
Yeah, that's shocking.
Wow,
shocking. It's not Red Shoe Diaries or anything, but you do what you got to do. I guess in the 90s. Yes,
they've changed HBO's name for about 12 times in the last year and a half. Yes. So now I'm going with Max, which reminds me of Cinemax, which of course is Skinamax.
Yeah. Absolutely, no question. Why else would you subscribe
Max
to Cinemax
in the UK?
So check that out.
So we're left to alternate means to find all our HBO properties, whatever that might be.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep rebranding themselves every 15 minutes.
It's upsetting to us all.
I've said it's on HBO, and people are like, I don't have HBO. I have something called Max. I'm like, come on. Come on.
For God's sakes. So
be aware. Be part of the universe, Just don't check out.
Be a part of the universe, would you? And watch Species. So thank you very much. Thank you again, Ian, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Yeah, it was good times. And be well.
Bye, people.